Hello once again, everybody. This is Rich with High Percent Trading. Today's very informative video is going to show you how to use combined Gann analysis and Elliott Wave analysis in your trading. This is going to be using the software developed here in High Percent Trading, and it's going to show you how you can trade for just an hour to 2 hours every day in the equity markets and make substantial profits every day. But before we do that, I'm obliged to put up the mandatory disclaimer, which I'm going to do right now. So please take a moment to read that. And then we're going to go get started here on our video. Here's our disclaimer. As most of you know, futures trading does involve risk. Any type of investing or trading involves risk. Please take a moment if you're not familiar with the risk disclosure. You can pause the screen and go ahead and read it in its entirety. I'm not going to read it here, but that's for your perusal. You can always also find it here under the website highpercenttrading.com, among other things, which I'll show you a little bit later. All right, that being said, let's get back to our charts. I'm going to show how you're going to be able to follow. We've got 5 markets that we like to follow every morning. How you're going to be able to follow this using this software, if you're interested in it. It automatically goes through the Gann analysis and Elliott Wave analysis, determines the trade setups, will actually provide the arrows and the areas for the trades, and can actually enter the trades and manage those trades automatically if you choose to do so. Let me talk about a brief overview first of all. For those of you who may not be totally familiar with Elliott Wave analysis, the basic principle is that markets generally move in a harmonic pattern about 30% of the time. The other 70% is what's called chaos, a random walk, and there's not a lot of order to it. So what's important is discerning that order and then being able to trade it. Most Elliott Wave occurs with a minimum of 5 waves, and you can see right here, this is actually called a football here, and this measures and shows the Elliott Wave move. You can see from the numbering here, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We went 6, and then we actually extended to a wave 7. I'll talk about in a minute why this was not a 9. But in a down move, the odd numbers as we go down 1, 3, 5, 7, and if we went 9 or 11, and it's very rare you get out to 9 or 11. But when you do that, market's generally exhausting. Those are called impulse waves. Retrace waves are when you retrace back against the overall move, as it was here. Also, in using Gann analysis, Gann is very harmonic. It has, among other things, extremely important mathematical correlations and relationships as the market moves in real time. So this software takes advantage of that. And when it detects a pure harmonic Gann and Elliott Wave analysis, it will go ahead and put what's called a football on here. That football basically tells you that we've got one of those forming. So the way we like to trade this is as follows. And this will be trading with the trend on all of these setups that I'm going to show. And again, I'm going to show how to trade this in the first hour or 2 hours. A lot of times you're done in the first hour with really large profits. So what we're looking at doing is starting, I'm in the Pacific Coast, starting at 6:30 Pacific time. That's 8:30 Eastern. That's right here. Now, by this time, we already had a wave 7 formed, as was depicted by this. what's important is when we have one of these wave 5 or wave 7 footballs formed, we have a band that's formed off that wave 5. It's only 4 ticks, and what's important is that you continue to trade that band. So this occurred prior to 6:30 right here. So what we're looking at doing now is we did have a Gann Elliott setup. What we're looking at doing then is shorting the market as it comes back to this band and then taking profit down here. The other thing we're then looking at is when this indicator called the SQ gets overdone like this, we expect to turn, so we're looking to take advantage of that. So simply the way that's traded was short through here, and then as we went back up above the band, it's a flip to long here. Okay. The second most important trade then in conjunction with that is trying to take advantage of the wave 2 pullback. So what do I mean by that? This was an impulse wave number 1 starting. We retraced on number 2. So on the retrace number 2, the software detected that we had a very good Gann Elliott correlation and actually triggered an arrow right here on an arrow setup long. As we went further on, the most we could get to here was a wave 3, and then we broke our pattern. A little later on, we had our next setup, which was right here, again on a wave 2 for a nice profit. And this puts us out basically about 40 minutes into the market. So again, had you been trading this way, and I just want to just show the profit potential on this. This move was from 1605, I'll call it 1605, all the way down to 1603. So that's roughly 20 ticks. However, as we moved higher off of this entry, which was around, I'll call it 1606, we moved all the way up to 1610.50. That's another 50 ticks. So that's a total right there, just on a one contract basis, had you entered here or here, including the other trade, of 70 ticks, and that equates 10 ticks is $50 in the Russell. That's a $350 move. And then we had another setup here off the wave 2 that the software detected for another move of approximately another $100. So that took us to a $400 overall profit in basically less than an hour. The market continued to trade. I'm not going to go through all the trade setups, but again, suffice it to say, I had a small, if you wanted to continue trading, a small trade here that resulted in a loss. Another very nice trade that the software picked up here. A small trade here. And then this is the important part again. We had the Gann Elliott analysis here. We had a wave 5 football with a long entry. And these markets will repeat over and over. But what I'm trying to show is using this software and using this approach, you make substantial profits pretty much every session. I'm going to go through all the markets, and you'll see that if you come in and take a look at this and either sign up as a member or see if you can get a trial, you will see that this repeats day in and day out. So again, about $400 in overall profit here, just trading one contract within 1 hour. Now let's move on to another market. I'm going to show all 5 of our equity markets here. All right, here's our second of the 5 equity markets we're going to follow today. Again, this is from Friday. And here's our pit open, what we call the pit open right here at 6:30 Pacific. That's 9:30 Eastern. We had a very nice wave 2 setup right here. We came down. You can see that it was marked number 2. The arrow off the software put you in the trade right here. And this trade moved up from approximately the 1940.50 level up to the 1945 level. That's a move of about $450 on one contract, and that was in a relatively short period of time. This is about an hour and 10 minutes into the session again. We had another very nice wave 2 setup here. In fact, this one actually completed all the way to a proper harmonic wave 5 Gann Elliott football analysis. So again, it would have triggered the entry right here. Moving up to the top, that's roughly about $250 to $300. And this puts us an hour and a half into the session. We had a perfect wave 5 football formed. The short entry is when you break right here, and then you were able to ride this, if you could, all the way down, managing that trade. And this is a move from approximately 1945.50 all the way down to 1935.80. That's about $900 per contract. So again, I think you can see in a relatively short period of time, this is about $1,500 to $1,600 if you're able to take advantage of this run. And we show you how to do that using some good trail stops. But again, this is the EMD market. That's the mid-cap 400, if some of you aren't familiar with that market. So I'm just going through the analysis here. We've got about 1,600 on the EMD, and I think we had close to 400 on the Russell. And let's move on to our next one in our remaining equities. All right, this is the tried and true E-mini S&P contract. And this provides a good example. Even though I'm not showing the analysis from earlier, you can see the perfect wave 5 Gann Elliott football that formed up here with the short entry. And then as we're moving into our pit open, here's our pit open basically right here, we were getting a nice perfect harmonic Gann Elliott football to the downside, 5 waves. And again, the way this is traded is you're going to go long above the band here, short below the band, and then back to long again. So this is an example, unlike the other two, where you may have to work at this just a little bit. You know, nothing in trading is 100%, and you're going to have some losing trades. But the nice thing about this is the stops are very small. This band that we're looking at right here is only 4 ticks. So you're able to get a little scalp off here, not much. I'm not even going to count that in the equation. This trade would have resulted in about a 5-tick loss, and then you would have swung it the other way. So had you got long in here, this move that took us all the way up to here was about 80 ticks altogether. That's about $400 on one S&P contract, E-mini. And of course, you did have the small loss down here to deduct from that. But again, you can also see we had our wave 2 set up here, and you were also able to get in here and ride that. You could have added on the contract or just ridden it. This brings us out to about 7:48 Pacific time, so we're about an hour and 20 minutes or so into the session. You did have one more trade set up here. If you're going to take it, that's off the wave 2 setup. That would have resulted in about another $125, $150. So again, you can see just trading one contract here in the S&P within the first hour and a half, very close to about $500 total. Just trading these easy, harmonic, clear setups with trade management. All right, here's the YM contract, the Dow Jones futures, the mini contract. Now, the Dow futures and the Nasdaq futures are the most volatile running of the 5 equities. I rank Nasdaq number 1, YM number 2, EMD 3, Russell 4, and the ES contract, E-mini number 5 as far as volatility. So you get a lot more trades with YM and Nasdaq, but you get some really big gains. So let's take a look at where our pit open is. Our pit open is right here. All right. we have our pit open right here. Now, what we had in this situation was we earlier had a very nice Wave 5 football that formed earlier, and for some traders they trade before that. I'm just showing how to do this in the first hour and a half to 2 hours after the pit open. But now you're familiar with the fact that we do have our cyan band here that was formed, and so if they were trading this would have been long back here. One thing I then like to do is once we got to our pit open here and we move down and we got our bar color changed to yellow and then magenta, I'm waiting for these bars to go back to blue as long as we're still trading above here, and that's the entry right here. All right, that would have been your entry right here, right around the 24,740 level, and you can see that in the span of about 10 minutes we moved up to the 24,810 level, and that was roughly if my math is right, about 70 ticks at $5 a tick, so that's about $350. Now, it did attempt to take a very short trade here. This is a short trade now. As we pulled down, we had our Wave 2. This trade really didn't amount to anything, and it immediately flipped to long here, and you got a nice run to the upside. This is actually a nice add-on here, but a good run from 24,800 up to about 24,835. That's another 35 ticks, roughly another $150. Now, we haven't even gotten through the first half hour of trading yet. We had a nice Wave 2 short entry here for a nice little profit. You had a couple nice scalps here and here, a couple nice scalps to the upside to here, and then this is where it really shines. We moved higher, and again, it's just sitting here analyzing these markets. It's looking for the perfect harmonic setups on the combined Gann Elliott analysis. That's what all of these are depicting. All of these are showing in real time. And then this is a classic Gann Elliott analysis. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 all the way down. This was the short entry. It picked up the short entry here off the Wave 2. You're able to ride this all the way down for a really nice profit. And then still within just the first hour, triggered to the long side here, here, and then here again. So I think you can see that was basically an hour and 10-20 minutes in here of trading, just trading one contract, trading these setups, managing them. I think we only had one loss that was in here. That was this short-term one that I pointed out here, and that's roughly about $700 to $800 per contract. So I think you're doing the math probably in your head right now as we've gone through the first 4 of our equity contracts, and I think that's totaling, I don't know, maybe $3,500, close to $4,000 trading if you're able to take advantage of all these. Now, all traders won't trade all 5, but I'm trying to show that you're going to get different entries at different times, so that enables you to follow them. Let's go to our last market, and that's the Nasdaq. Okay, now this is the Nasdaq. This is the last of the 5, and this is all from the same day. And I want to show why it's important for you to be able to follow a couple of different of these equities at any one given moment, because I think you can see from the prior analysis some of these trades you got into right off the bat long and were able to ride them quickly. Nasdaq's going to show an example. Remember I mentioned that Nasdaq is the most volatile of the 5. It exhibits the most tendencies of chaos, meaning that it goes through the random walk theory and is only really orderly and harmonic about 30% of the time. Actually, a little less than 30% of the time. So sometimes your trade setups are a little bit few and far between. Friday was one of those examples. Other days it just clicks along like clockwork. But here's our pit open right here at 6:30. It had an initial little short trade here that you're able to get about 12 or 14 ticks on a scalp, but nothing more if you were managing, and you would have gotten then taken out. We had one more little trade over here about 10 more minutes into the session. This is a loss trade. All right, you would have lost about 10 ticks on this trade. So you're pretty much to break even at this point in time if you're trading this the way it should be traded. All right, let's continue on with our analysis now. So we showed the first two trades. They've basically amounted to nothing overall. And so as Nasdaq will do sometimes, it's going to be very harmonic and produce some really good trades early on. Other times you're going to have to wait a little bit deeper into the session. So we're just going to continue to move on the charts here as this was operating in real time. And what you can see over here is about 50 or so minutes into the session, we had a perfect combined Gann and Elliott Wave 5 football, 1, 2, 3, 4, impulse 5 all the way up. That's the short entry here. So a short entry for a nice little profit. And then again, the way this is traded is once we have our Wave 5 football band formed, and it doesn't form on all things, it's got to be a perfect harmonic setup, we can then trade both sides of it. So this was the short entry here, a reshort here, a little long for about 10, 12 ticks, then a short that got stopped out, and then a nice long through the band again. And that puts you out here to about 7 a.m. Pacific. So the first half hour, but some nice trading that took place. This trade actually was from around the 69.52 level up to the 62 level. That's a $200 move per contract. So in here, roughly about 250. You're up about 250, up about 300 on the session. But then again, I wanted to show as we continued on a little bit further, as you went deeper, you did have a long trade here. I generally will ignore these other ones until we pull back again on the two like we did. So this was your initial trade here, and then a second trade here. So this was a situation where the Nasdaq, you had to work at it a little bit more than the others, but still nicely profitable. And I wanted to show this, anybody can put the best charts forward and show the big smashing winners, but you've got to be fair when you present this. And I wanted to show the fact that I wanted to basically end with the one that was the most difficult to trade, because it's when you've got to work at it a little bit that traders start to sometimes get other thoughts or doubts in their mind. But again, you'll see this time and time again. You will get these setups, and these setups will produce for you day in and day out. Let me just show the previous day and Nasdaq so you get a little better idea of how it performed that day, which was a much easier day. So as promised, this is Thursday, the day before. I want to show that Nasdaq is not always harder to trade. Sometimes it's easier. This is a pretty good example of getting on the trade early and making substantial profits early. This is our pit open over here at 6:30. We're just in random chaos at this point in time. We then started to get our trade setups here, and you can see that right here at 6:35, about 5 minutes in, we had a really nice wave 2 setup for a nice long entry here. Things were looking good. We were moving up on a 3. We came down to a 4, but then that's when the pattern broke, and we could not get above here to our 5 target. But still, a pretty nice trade overall in at around the 69.18 level. You're able to take this up to, say, the 25 level. That's roughly let's see, about 30 ticks total at $5 a tick. Not a bad little profit. And then this is what I wanted to show. We then came down and formed a perfect harmonic Gann Elliott analysis. We came down 1, 2, impulse wave 3, retrace 4, back to the 5, almost perfectly to the 5 target. I didn't talk about this, but the software also gives you the statistical targets off the waves. If you were to go ahead and click them over here and ask it to see the statistics, if I apply that, it will tell you in a typical up leg what the impulse wave on average over the entire chart analysis is. It's generally 18 ticks on wave 1, 13 ticks on the retrace to 2, and then 21 ticks up on wave 3, 13 ticks on the retrace, and etc. And you can see this. I'm not going to go through all these, but it also does all of this analysis here, and it actually is putting that on the chart as well in real time. That's what all these targets are. So this trade that I showed down here actually retraced and came, I believe, within 2 ticks of the predicted wave retrace on a 2. As you can see here, we came right down to the impulse target number 1, came within a couple ticks of 2, penetrated 3 by a couple, penetrated 4 by a little bit more, and then came down to our 5. And this is the trade setup right here. This is the wave 5. This is the trade setup, long here. Then you had a second wave 2 entry. We went 1, 2 on the entry here, and then off this move to the upside. Very nice trade setup here. Again, entering around the 69.18 level, moving up to 69.31. That's roughly about 13 handles at 4 ticks. That's a good 50 ticks. Another 250 just per contract. So again, and this is all within the first basically 15 minutes. All right, let me just continue out here a little bit longer because, like I said, we only went about 15 minutes into the session. So I want to show the continuation here. The market then moved down. Okay, this brings us to about 20 minutes into the session. We got a really nice setup here. As we came into our, you can see this was a wave 5 that formed right here. And again, we trade both sides of this cyan band, So initially, it was short. That trade amounted to nothing. It's only a 4-tick band, and then you flip to long as we went above it, because it's important when these levels are broken, just like how we talked before on the Oracle, if a lot of you are familiar with that. When these levels are broken, the harmonics are broken for a reason, and we have other forces at work. So a very nice flip to the long trade. We came up to our wave 9. We got our next cyan band. So that was be an exit on the long, and then a short through here as we came down, short through here. So getting a lot of nice harmonics up here, nice harmonics up, nice harmonics down. As we came down again, notice again we had our wave 5 here with an initial long trade, and then just as I mentioned, the same analysis applies as we move down through this cyan band again. That's a short entry to the downside. So again, you can see a lot easier to trade on the Thursday than it was the Friday that I indicated. Both days very profitable. Thursday probably 3 times as profitable in that time frame than the Nasdaq was on Friday. But that's why you follow several other markets to get that balanced out. But I think you can see the power of this. So if you're interested in this, I'm going to give you some information where you can come forward and see this a little bit more. If you haven't, you can get a trial on this. You can come into our rooms, and you're going to be able to see this operate in real time, and you really will be amazed at the ease that this software works through. and how easy the trade setups are set. One caveat, our membership is a monthly membership. This is so good right now, and I've been approached by actual other companies that really want to buy this out, that we're going to be tripling our membership prices within about 10 days. So if you're at all interested in this, I strongly recommend that you contact us to either get a trial on this or to get in on your membership. You'll be grandfathered in if you do, but the prices are tripling due to just supply and demand, basically. I don't want to oversaturate this. And I'll show you how to do that again on the website. So our website is not a lot of bells and whistles and fanfare. If you come to our website, it's high%trading.com. Again, high%trading.com. You can see it up here. You can request a free trial, or you can request some additional contact over here. Just fill in some information. We'll get them both. That's the contact page. So we'll get either the contact that you request or the free trial. You'll be able to come in on this. You'll be able to get a trial if you haven't had this for the week. You'll be able to come into our rooms for a total of about 15 hours for the week of both live market analysis and workshops. And you'll be given the opportunity to take advantage of your membership, which will be good and grandfathered in basically for life before our cost triples in about 10 days. So again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I hope it was helpful. And I think for those of you who are not really familiar with the harmonics of the Gann and Elliott analysis, this is pure analysis on a harmonic basis that takes advantage of those situations where the market is not in chaos, and that's only about 30% of the time. So thanks for watching, and I hope to hear or see most of you soon. Again, have a great day, have a great week, and we look forward to a real good week of trading coming up. So thanks again, everyone. Bye now. Bye-bye.